if somebody wants to see the music, I could say, go look at this video clip and you will see the structure, the makeup of the music. Hi, everyone. Today I am returning to Bob Dylan, and I know that there is a whole lot left for me to explore of him, but I feel like today is kind of important because I'm going to be listening to Subterranean Homesick Blues, which many of you have said along the way on this journey that it was not only significant for Dylan himself, but also in the larger scheme of the whole development of rock music. I understand that this was one of his first electric songs, also that he created a sort of video, which was kind of a new thing as well, and that it was also a sort of conglomeration, condensation, gathering together of a lot of what was going on in the 60s, socially, politically, musically. So let's see how it sounds.
John is in the basement mixing up the medicine. I'm on the pavement thinking about the government. A man in a trench coat, badge out laid off, says he's got a bad cough, wants to get it paid off. Look out, kid, it's something you did. God knows when, but you're doing it again. You better duck down the alleyway looking for a new friend. A man in a coonskin cap and a pig pen wants $11 bills. You only got 10. Maggie comes fleet-foot, face full of black soot, talking at the heat, put plants in the bed, but the phone's tapped anyway. Maggie says the man said it must bust an early man. Orders from the DA. Look out, kid, don't matter what you did, but walk on your tiptoes, don't tie no bows. Better stay away from those that carry around a fire hose. Keep a clean nose, wash the plain clothes. You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows.
Okay. You know, those of you who followed my journey, you know that I've had kind of this fascination with Dylan, and at the same time, not really easily falling in love with his music. I have always appreciated what I've heard of his works, but I don't really. It's something that takes work for me to get into. That's not necessarily a negative, and I won't go down the discussion path of why it isn't a negative, but it's just the state of things. This is a song which somehow, in spite of the fact that I do hear still the classic Dylan voice and many of the fingerprints of what I've come to associate with his way of vocal delivery, and still, even though, okay, I hear the electric guitar in there, I do hear it, but it still has very much a strummed guitar like I've heard in some of his folk music. It's interesting to me that this one, maybe I wouldn't say that I instantly fell in love with it, but I certainly felt that it was one of his songs that I've been more easily able to connect with. Meaning, something about the rhythmic, beat-based delivery of his kind of lyrical presentation. And again, this is one that doesn't have a ton of melody in it, really. It's more the rhythm, the beat. Da 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 da. And at the same time, maybe it's also partly the strange combination of that with these big kind of cue card type papers that are being presented here on this video clip. And what gets to me between the two, the cue cards and the vocal delivery, is how should I say this? Should I say the uncoordinated timing, the lack of coordination between the rhythm of, okay, in other words, the singing is very rhythmic. The cue cards are being pulled off so naturally, so like I would expect in a real life scenario, not rhythmically right in time with the music. And so sometimes what I see on the screen gets slightly off with what I'm hearing in the music. And something about that actually adds to the whole rhythmic effect. I guess I could call it maybe a polyrhythm in a way. A sort of visual polyrhythm with the musical rhythmic elements. Kind of a fun thing to notice that it really caught me. And I was looking at this. You might have seen me. I was just, huh? And I'm listening and I'm looking and I'm listening. And it really engaged me right away. And the other thing I enjoyed is how incredibly bluesy this felt. Even from the beginning, the introduction, there were some moments where, oh, that's the blues feel. It comes through really strongly.
Stay away from those that carry around a fire hose. Keep a clean nose, wash a clean clothes. You don't need a weatherman to know it's
holding it all. The guitar.
Oh, get sick, get well, hang around the inkwell, hang bell, hard to tell if anything is gonna sell. Fly hard, get boxed, get back, ride rail, get jail, jump bail. Join the army if you fail. Look out, kid, you're gonna get hit by losers, cheaters, six-time users, hanging around the theaters. Girls by the whirlpools looking for a new fool. Don't follow leaders or watch your parking meters.
You know the funny thing? A funny thing too is that, of course, I've been going through this whole Beatles catalog journey, and I have read from time to time in that project how John Lennon was so fascinated with and attracted to Dylan's style, and really tried to model himself after Dylan, especially during certain phases of his own musical development. And it's funny, knowing that is helpful to me, because otherwise I might have said, oh, this also kind of sounds a bit like John Lennon. Which would, of course, be the reverse of what it is. I'm now recognizing how much John Lennon absorbed and developed kind of after the Dylan style. But I haven't spent so much time with Dylan. And so to my ears, I'm thinking, oh, yes, I know. Even the voice, it somehow has that sort of thin metallic quality that I hear in Lennon's as well.
Users hanging around the theaters. Girls by the whirlpools looking for a new fool. Don't follow leaders or watch your parking meters. Oh, get born, keep on, short pants, romance. Learn to dance, get dressed, get flair.
Oh yeah, this was a nice one. It's almost like he's like, oh, did you see that one? Did you see that one?
Oh, get born, keep on, short pants, romance. Learn to dance, get dressed, get flair. Tired of peace, success. Please her, please him. Buy gifts, don't feel, don't live.
Those are
20
good
years of
too.
school.
Where is this? Success. There's a bit of humor in that as well, and probably additional commentary in addition to what we're hearing lyrically. This idea of success only. This is making me think of it sucks and excess. It sucks in excess, success. And so some of these things also contribute to how I interpret what is coming in the lyrics musically.
Pants, romance. Learn to dance, get dressed, get flair. Tired of peace, success. Please her, please him. Buy gifts, don't steal, don't live. 20 years of schooling and they put you on the day shift. Look out, kid. They keep it all hid. Better jump down a manhole, light yourself
And this guitar.
For the scandal.
This is so much built around the voice. The voice and the beat. The music is kind of chugging along. Chunka 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 chunka. The drums, the guitar, chunka 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 chunka, as kind of the train going down the track on which the voice is riding. And the voice is riding in a rather passive manner. Da 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 da. Da 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 ba ba da 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 da. So it's this strange combination of vehicle, like a train, carrying, that's the beat, the rhythm instruments, and then the voice, the passenger, and yet the focus is not on the vehicle, it's on the passenger. The song is about the voice, or I could say, rather, it's about what the voice is saying. And as I mentioned earlier, I don't hear a lot melody-wise. When I do hear, it's these sort of bluesy style licks, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee, showing up in the guitar. But listening to how this is recorded, and of course, being the 60s, I understand that this is not highly advanced recording techniques like we know today, but still, I have to observe and appreciate the way this electric guitar, which I'm making sure I remember is a new thing for Dylan, it's kind of distant. It's far back in the perspective, the musical perspective. We have the voice up front, the guitar, or the lone melodic instrument, providing some little sprinklings of melody, melodic shape here and there, not in terms of presenting it in the verse itself, but more commentary on the verse, melodic commentary. Dee 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 is really quite obscure. It's off in the distance. It's out of focus. It's away from the center of attention. And all of these musical elements, even though, yes, this is rhythmic and consistently simply rhythmic, blues based. So there's a pretty standard harmonic progression and rhythm. Well, standard. I haven't counted the bars, but it's got some modifications in terms of length. But still, you hear the standard harmonies, and when it shifts, it sits here for a while, and then when it shifts, it sits here for a while. All of that is kind of acting like what we see on the screen here. The scaffolding and construction alley. Now that I'm looking at this still here and thinking it through, this is really quite a great visual representation of the music. The straight lines, the consistency, the lack of ornamentation, the lack of stuff to fluff it up. We could even say that this fellow on the left here is perhaps representative of the electric guitar. Off a bit. He's there. He's part of the scene, but he's not really the focal point. And these cue cards are representative of and even this boy holding the cue cards, he's representative of Dylan's voice. And even this boy holding the cue cards, he's representative of Dylan's voice. He is the primary character, and yet it is not about the voice. It's about what the voice is saying. And these cue cards are representative of really where our attention is in the music. That's interesting to see how how precisely and accurately this little video clip represents the balance and design of the musical structure of the piece. All right, close to the end, and now I feel like backing up just to appreciate this a bit. You know, many times as a teacher, my effort when talking about music is to come up with relatable ways of building connections to what we are hearing. You hear me very often use simile and example and comparison and visual imagery and imaginative storylines as a way of expressing what I'm hearing in the music. Not because the music needs that, but because many times it helps us connect to and observe and appreciate more about the music itself. And so as I'm sitting here noticing this, I have to say that the teacher in me feels quite pleased, delighted, I should even say, at the visual representation here on the screen of the structure and design and makeup of the music itself. That is something that the more I look at this picture and think about it, the more I think, you know, if somebody wants to see the music, I could say, go look at this video clip and you will see the structure, the makeup of the music. That's not something I've seen a lot in video clips. And I understand that this is not just about illustrating, giving a visual representation of what we're hearing. But something about it really nailed it. And that's great. And for those of you who enjoy visuals and really connect to visuals, this is a great example of how something completely non-music related, scaffolding, concrete, bags of building material, misspelled parking meters, misspelled cue cards, all of this are telling us what we are hearing and kind of lining it out, illustrating it for us. Not just the ideas, but because many times that's what the video clip does. It adds to or enhances the ideas presented in the music. I'm talking structurally, substantively, how the music is made. This video clip has managed to illustrate that as well. That's kind of fun. You see his motions over here?
Oh, get born, keep on, short pants, romance.
Kind of
learn to dance, get dressed, get dressed. Top be success, please her, please him. Buy gifts, don't steal, don't risk. 20 years of schooling and it put you on
The
the day
day
shift.
told.
Look out, kid, they keep it all hid. Let it jump
Black and
down the
white.
manhole, light yourself a candle. Don't wear sandals, try to forge a scandal. Don't want to be a bum, you better chew gum. The pump don't work cause the vandals took the handle.
You hear the guitar? It's just like this guy over in the corner. And just as, this is interesting, just as Dylan leaves the scene, meaning his vocal delivery leaves the scene, so also this fellow with the cue cards is leaving the scene, and all the lyrics have already been sung. They are laying on the ground. And with this fade out, that's the first moment we really get to hear the guitar itself, these other little hints of melody, which are not a significant part of it, but we get to enjoy them for a moment as it's fading away, just as we see these two guys walk out into the center of the screen. Well, unlike the music itself, and unlike this video clip, which does such a great job of illustrating the musical elements, these lyrics are a lot more complex. They have so much happening in them, and there's this feeling of motion and rapid action. I could say it's a really action-packed set of lyrics. And just like with the cue cards that are falling one after the next, and we manage to see one, and then it goes before we really process all about it, then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So also reading these lyrics, I feel like there's so much to process in them. Johnny's in the basement, mixing up the medicine. I'm on the pavement, thinking about the government. The man in a trench coat, badge out, laid off, says he's got a bad cough, wants to get it paid off. Already, we've been through so much, and that's just the first verse. And we have everything from, look out, kid, it's something you did, God knows when, but you're doing it again. You better duck down the alleyway looking for a new friend, a man in a coonskin cap, coonskin cap, in a pig pen, wants $11 bills, you only got 10. I am appreciating how this really does capture so much of what was going on in the 60s. And it's not really trying to interpret it. It's not trying to explain it. And I'm not sure it's even trying to be specifically critical about certain elements of it. It's just gathering it all together and handing it to us and saying, look at this package of intense activity and change. There's the unrest, there's the violence, there's the social awareness, there's the politics and the rights movements. They must bust in early May, orders from the DA, the phone's tapped anyway, they're the international politics in here. So much. I'm just scanning through. Try hard, get barred, get back, write braille, get jailed, jump bail, join the army if you fail. Look out, kid, you're going to get hit. Well, that's kind of how I feel. Look out, kid, you're going to get hit. It's coming at me so fast. How do we process it all? And I feel like maybe that's how it felt to a lot of people back then. Of course, that was before my time. All of this happening so fast, so much. How do you process? How do you find your place in this world? What do you focus on, both for yourself and for your contribution to the world around you? Where do we belong? And that's kind of how I feel about it, just scanning through and having heard it once. But I guess this is a song that I would find myself coming back to again and again. Not so much for the music, more for the lyrical content. And I might even find myself sitting down and just reading through the lyrics slowly so that I can start to think about, yes, it's kind of stream of consciousness. It's not meant to be a systematic building up one to the next, but yet there is so much consistent throughout. Consistent with the time, the era, the attitudes, and consistent with what I know of Dylan and his mission, his musical mission, which was to raise awareness of issues that were significant and important in his view of the world and his experience of the time. So really, a piece which is perhaps, I could say, deceptive in its musical simplicity, beautiful in its musical simplicity, and deceptive at the same time. It all works very well. And I can appreciate how so many of you have said, you really need to listen to this. And I am going to say, after listening to it once, I really want to spend time with this and let it soak in and absorb what is being said and get to become familiar with more of the message of it, because it's one that offers that because of its lyrical content. So, a great experience listening to Dylan's Subterranean Homesick Blues. What a great name. And I'll be enjoying this down the road along the way. I'll see you soon.